shot at Business Central. I know Ken has some updates from last month and whatnot, and a couple new things that happened.
Yeah, so we have several shots of Business Central that we're going to go through today.
More than merrier.
And, I thought I want to start with just a very quick recap of our last month's shot segment, only because we did talk about some significant announcements. What we announced during what we talked about last podcast was the 2019 Release Wave 2 plan, which is Microsoft's document that they released that describes all of the new features and functionality that's going to be added to Business Central with the October 2019 release that's coming out. And specifically, we shared the link where you can download that document. And the key dates is June 10th is when that document was released. August 2nd, so around now, is when there is early access available. And then the general availability date begins October 1st. And the only reason I'm kind of being a little bit vague and hedging around those dates is that Microsoft phases out or rolls out these updates.
Right.
So my guess is that sometime during August, users will be able to log into Business Central, create a new sandbox environment that includes the new preview of these new features.
Yeah. And I actually just read too where, to speak upon that, is when they say August 1st or October 1st, that they actually mean the entire month. Right. It's not a hard date, so it's not going to happen for everybody on that date.
Yeah, and it could be that some features are available early in that month and other features are then added later as well. And the other announced kind of key thing we talked about is, so what's in this October 2019 Release Wave 2? Well, they came up with 5 main pillars around where they're improving the product. The first is the focus on the service, which will improve performance, reliability, supportability, and security. The modern client, which is the user interface. The modern developer tools, in which we announced the discontinuation of the classic Seaside development environment. Yeah. ISV acceleration, so working to streamline the path to move more ISV add-on solutions to the cloud as apps. And then lastly, customer migration tools. So improvements to the tools that are used to move existing NAV, GP, and SL customers into Business Central Cloud.
Very nice.
So in terms of this month, so kind of moving forward, a couple announcements and news and notes that have been released during the month of July. The first is kind of a simple one, but it's that there are some old Business Central online URLs that were created months and months ago, maybe over a year ago, before the formal release of Business Central. And these old URLs had financials included in the name. If you've been using those URLs, Microsoft has been quietly just automatically redirecting you to the new businesscentral.dynamics.com URL. But effective September 1st, they will no longer be redirecting you.
Wow.
So it may be that users have a support issue where all of a sudden their shortcut that they have bookmarked or saved as a favorite in their browser no longer works.
It's not going to work, So now what you have to do is you just type in home.dynamics.com on your browser, and it'll automatically take you to your Business Central page.
Yep. Okay. Another new piece of news is that the Dynamics mobile apps for both NAV and Business Central have been updated. So this was announced July 26th. And so basically these are the mobile apps that run on your phone or your tablet device, your iOS or Android, or Windows 10 if you're using the device as a Windows 10 app. So they've just continued to make improvements to it as phones and devices and apps go through security updates and things. Microsoft needs to update these apps. So if you are using the Dynamics NAV app or you're using the Dynamics 365 Business Central mobile app, then you can just go to your Apple App Store or Google Play or Microsoft and download the newest version of the app.
Because you're unsure whether or not they're pushing out the updates automatically through the App Store, like they do with all your other apps right now.
Right.
So we just don't know.
So the best bet is just to go and run an update from the App Store. You can update the app from there, and then you'll get the latest version of that. And that will resolve some, some issues, consistency and performance improvements. So that will be help there. Okay. Next thing is that, we've seen some support issues from customers where they report a message that says something along the lines of, you do not have permissions for X or Y. And so what I want to clarify here is just that there are and this is from Microsoft clarifying this too, is that there are really two types of permissions when you see these messages. The first are what are called entitlements. Okay. And so think about an entitlement is really, what are you as a user licensed for? Mm-hmm. Are you a Business Central Essentials user or a premium user? Okay. Have you been, are you an Office 365 user, Power BI user, right? Right. So, Power Apps, yeah. So you could be in Business Central and try to do something and get one of these permissions errors. That is, it's because of your entitlements or your licenses that you've been assigned by Microsoft or through your partner.
You're just not licensed for it, okay?
Right.
So then permissions would be?
And then there are specific permissions. And so it could be that you are entitled to it. You're a premium user with Power BI and Office 365, and you're entitled to everything. Yeah. But then you log in as a user and you try to run a report, and it says you do not have permission to run this report. Those are what are called permission sets, and those are managed per user within Business Central. Right. So you actually your administrator can log in and say, okay, well, Michael, he needs access to customers and he needs access to sales orders, but I do not want him looking at purchase orders or financial statements. Right. So you could go in and assign various permission sets to Michael, and therefore that would restrict what he can do once he's logged in.
Now, can you build custom permission sets too?
You can.
Okay.
Correct.
So you're not just limited to what's out of the box.
Yeah, there are a large number of out-of-the-box permission sets that you can assign. So something like create customers or edit customers. Those are existing ones. Right. But yeah, you definitely can go in, you could build your own and put whatever permissions you want. And those can get really granular. Yeah. Down to the individual page or report or process.
And you can even build groups, correct, to have certain permission sets assigned to the group.
Right.
And add people to the group.
Yeah, so if you have, let's say you have 8 people in your customer service department, customer service reps, you would create a permission group and you assign all those permission sets to that permission group. Then, when you hire someone new as a customer service rep, all you do is put them in that group, and they now inherit all of those permissions that are assigned to the group.
So it cuts back a little bit of setup time.
Right. Yep. So just wanted to specify this difference. If users may hear these terms, entitlements versus permissions. Right. So just wanted to kind of explain that.
And if you can't get in Business Central, call us.
You call your partner and they'll help you, or diagnose what that error really means. Yeah. Okay, so turning the page here. So another announcement from Microsoft on July 17th was that Power BI content packs are being discontinued. So what you used to be able to do is for both NAV and Business Central, Microsoft had published Power BI content packs, and you could then use these as a starting point, or just as your
because they came with
reports,
pre-built dashboards, and that pulled in from your information from whatever ERP you're using.
Exactly. So this announcement basically says that because of a number of known issues that have been reported in with Business Central, these content packs are no longer supported. They've been removed from the PowerBI.com site, and they've actually been replaced with Power BI apps.
That's pretty big, and all sounds good so far.
Right. Power BI apps they function in the same way as a content pack.
Yeah.
Right. So the app it basically has the connections and the dashboard and the reports similar to what the content packs have.
So what's the difference then?
The only difference, Michael, is that you must have a Power BI Pro license to install a Power BI app.
That's a shame, because the Power BI free license for Microsoft is pretty good in my opinion. I mean, it's robust. It has a lot of features. So
right. Now, once the app is installed, it can be shared with any user regardless of license.
Oh. Really?
So you don't have to all be Power BI Pro users.
Just see the dashboards you created. You can share.
Yeah, and for those, just
it's interesting.
If we could take a brief segue just to confirm, there are multiple price points for Power BI. Mm-hmm. There is a free version. You can just go to PowerBI.com, create a free account, and start using it. Then there's Power BI Pro, which is $9.99 per user per month. Mm-hmm. And that is the version that we would recommend for any of our Business Central clients to use. It has some security features built in. The performance is better than the free version.
You're allowed to share things which are not on the free version.
Correct. There are restrictions in who you can share it with also.
Within your company,
within your domain. And then there is a enterprise level Power BI license also that you can get.
Which I believe is it $25,000 a year? Yeah,
I think it's $25,000 a year. That's for heavy duty companies, huge data processing. You need more horsepower.
Right.
Behind them.
Unlimited refresh rates and everything.
So what this is saying is that you need at least, if you're going to use these Power BI apps that are created for Business Central, you will need at least one Power BI Pro license. Which again, it sounds bad, but what we tell people is if you're going to be using Power BI more than what's just there out of the box, you should have a pro license anyway.
Especially if it's more than one person in your organization using it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And then I want to wrap up the shot of Business Central with just one more note. And by the way, there is a very nice Business Central community site. Mm-hmm. So if you're unfamiliar with that, you can just Bing search Business Central community. It takes you to the URL. I think it's something like community.dynamics.com/business or Business Central or whatever. And there are updates, news articles, documentation, videos.
Nice. We'll post a link to it.
A lot of stuff up there. And one of the things they've actually published on July 10th, they published new apps that were released to AppSource for Business Central in June. So we weren't able to get this into our last podcast.
Right.
But I wanted to kind of go through. So I have 2 months of new apps to go through.
Okay.
Based on this July 10th announcement, there were 33 new Business Central apps published to AppSource during June.
Wow.
We're not going to go through all of them. Some of them are country specific, but a few that I think caught my eye which is an app that was developed by Microsoft, is send remittance advice by email. So what this is if you're doing paying vendors in the payment journal, you can email and resend remittance advices from the payment journal or from vendor ledger entries. This is important because as more companies switch to electronic payments, they're electronically routing the money into the bank is into the appropriate bank accounts, but the vendor maybe doesn't know exactly what are the invoices being paid and how much. So this now allows you to send to the vendors a remittance advice that says, hey, I'm paying you this much money and these are the invoices I'm paying and how much I'm paying against it.
That's interesting. I wonder if something like that could also almost be set up with Microsoft Flow. I don't know. It's interesting.
I'll bet you could.
Yeah.
Couple more just to point out here that caught my eye. There's one called multi-entity management, which allows you to consolidate many business transactions into one. So that kind of caught my eye. There is a finance month-end activities dashboard, which provides a quick glance at outstanding month-end activities for finance teams.
The multi-entity one is kind of interesting. I wonder if it is fully integrated and adds an entire different page to Business Central or whatnot. I know you haven't tried it yet, so yeah. I'm just wondering. I'm thinking out loud.
Thinking out loud. That's good. I hear the gears grinding from over here.
Yeah.
There are two apps from a company called Folio 3, which are integrations for e-commerce solutions. So there's a Shopify integration connector and a WooCommerce integration connector. So this allows you to integrate your Shopify or WooCommerce stores with Business Central. So those more and more people are doing business online, right?
Yep.
So that's important. And then the last kind of set I wanted to go through are two by Netronic software, which are visual scheduler solutions.
Yep.
So if you do production scheduling or job scheduling, and this allows you to actually, within an embedded Gantt chart, display a visual schedule, and including drag and drop functionality to move stuff around.
And they were pretty big in the Nav community as well with their visual scheduling.
Well-known partner. Okay. And then in July, this was actually released on August 1st here. So for July, there were 21 new apps that were published to AppSource for Business Central. And again, just to highlight a couple of them, one of them, again, an e-commerce connector. This is one that does for Magento, WooCommerce, Shopify, and Amazon. Wow. So it's
a couple more than the other one.
And then another one, which is by Plumline Consulting, a big SL partner, Microsoft Dynamics SL History Smart Lists. So, there are a lot of businesses that are running SL that are considering or moving to Business Central.
Yeah.
So this is kind of, I'm sure we'll see more of these as more of these SL customers move over to Business Central. We'll see that they liked some of those features that they had.
Yeah.
And we'll probably see more of those getting moved over.
Makes complete sense.
Yep. And then the last one here I just want to highlight is just advanced dimension management. So within Business Central, we use dimensions to do financial reporting, breaking down, slicing and dicing our financial data. So this app speeds up dimension setup for new entities and auto-populates dimension values.
Something that you think would be of value?
I think so. Occasionally we get asked about auto-populating dimensions on various records.
Yeah.
So there is functionality embedded that does that, but sometimes there are some advanced scenarios maybe that can help with. So it's something I might keep my eye on or even go check out to see what it does. I think, for all these apps too, there are videos and documentation that are linked right on the app page. So hopefully I hope that there's a good video
maybe even
for the
free
app,
trial.
and where I can just watch a video, see what it does to learn a little bit more about it. Maybe I don't even end up having to install the app.
Just because you'll know by the video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So sorry,
that was that's my shot. Now,
all right. So keeping in with the shot in Business Central, over the past couple of weeks, we've kind of got this thing where it's a Stump Ken type of a thing, and I got a question for him, and he might know the answer, he might not, but that's the fun of it, right?
You need to come up with some new theme music for this segment.
I will, if we want to make it its own segment, real short, yeah. So this week, the Stump question is it possible to edit the description on a posted transaction in Business Central?
Description, so are you talking about like a posted invoice line?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would tell you that historically, in the NAV and Business Central world, you could not.
Okay.
So that would have had to be a customization or an extension if you wanted to add functionality that allowed users to update descriptions, really any field,
right,
with a few exceptions, on a posted document.
Okay.
Or ledger entry.
Okay. So
But my
you going
guess
yes
is
or no?
my guess is
You're kind of in the middle here.
Based on my question, my guess is that yes, you can.
You got it. You can. Now you can. Business Central even creates a change log entry for this too. So
Wow.
you got it this week.
All right.
So that about wraps it up then for the Shot of Business Central. Or you got more or what?
That does. I think that's enough news and notes for today. And then next month, we'll hopefully, when we talk about this, we're going to hopefully have some more updates on the early access availability and
maybe
how to
even be able to try out some of the features.
Right, check that out in the sandbox.